Hi, I'm Kiz Crosbie. I'm the Artistic Director and CEO of Mortal Fools, a theatre, drama and creative learning company based in Northumberland. This is Imagine If, Culture Bridge North East annual conference bringing together folks from the cultural and education sectors. And I am delighted to be giving this year's keynote speech. And this keynote speech is happening in the most extraordinary of years, the most challenging things that most of us have ever lived through, but also opportunities for us to be more creative than we've ever been before, for us to try new things, for us to work together in new ways, and that is what I'm going to talk to you about in this speech. One significant loss that we've suffered this year is the death of Sir Ken Robinson, a real loss to our sector. Ken was an author, a speaker and an advisor in cultural education to people all over the world. And so in honour of him, one of the things that I've decided to do today is to structure this speech using some of his wisdom. The role of a creative leader is not to have all of the ideas. It's to create a culture where everyone can have ideas and feel that they're valued. In times of great change and uncertainty, like times that we're living through now, the leadership that we demonstrate for others is of paramount importance. When the pandemic first hit, one of the first things that we did at Mortal Fools was to make a series of promises publicly. We published them online, and they were promises to all of the stakeholders that we were working with, our staff, the artists that we work with, the children and young people that we work with, our partners, and so on. And that's given us a structure through which to navigate all of this change and uncertainty. It also gave us some space to reconnect with our purpose, for us to really remind ourselves of what the organisation exists to do and why that's important. And that purpose has become an anchor that we can hold on to, which has really helped us stay steady as the waters have got more and more treacherous. And so I invite you to really think about your purpose. Why do you do the work that you do? Whether you are representing a cultural organisation, whether you're an artist, whether you're a school, you're teaching in a school, you work in a school. What is the purpose of what you do? Reconnect with that and allow that to ground you, to keep you steady and to really help you plan for the next stages. Staying true to those promises that we made at the beginning of the pandemic has required effort on a day-to-day basis. None of us have ever lived or worked through a pandemic before, and so we're all making this up as we go along. Within Mortal Fools, that has required us to stay strong together, to work together, for us to take risks together. When one of us trips and falls, there are people around them to pick them back up again. When one of us makes a mistake or we encounter a problem, we group around it and we solve that together. So again, I invite you to think about, who are you collaborating with? Who are you learning from? Who are you drawing strength and ideas from? None of us can do this on our own. So collaboration and connection with others is absolutely paramount. Remember, you don't have to be the leader of a cultural organisation to be a cultural leader, to be a creative leader. Leadership can come from anywhere, and our job in that leadership role is to create a space where everybody can be heard, where their ideas can be valued, and where they can be acted upon. We all need to feel at the moment that our contributions matter, and no more so than the children and young people that we're working with. So think about what spaces you're creating, what environments you're creating, the conversations that you're having and the connections that you're making. How are you supporting other people, and particularly the children and young people that you're working with, to feel valued, to feel heard, and to feel that they are making a really important contribution at this time? For most of us, the problem isn't that we aim too high and we fail, it's that we aim too low and we succeed. Okay. Let's talk about the comfort zone. Now, we all want to stay safe and well. We all want to stay feeling comfortable and secure. Even I have days, as I'm sure many of you do as well, where I wake up in the morning and all I want is to pull the duvet back up over my head and make it all go away. But that's not how we progress. That's not how we develop. That's not how change happens, or certainly not how we drive change. But in order to drive change, we have to embrace coming out of the comfort zone, and that requires discomfort. However, working together, creating and innovating are things that the cultural sector and the education sector excel at. We have a real opportunity here. We have an opportunity to work as allies to bring about radical change in our respective sectors, to find new ways to support children and young people, not just through this difficult time, but to bring about change that has lasting impact for education and for cultural activity for the long term. But it's going to require us to all come out of our comfort zones in order to do that. So let's have a look at what we mean by a comfort zone. Just take a minute to look at the fear zone, the first steps into uncomfortable territory. In this zone, we might make excuses or be heavily influenced by criticism from others. When I'm in the fear zone, some of the things that little voice in my head says to me are, nobody's interested in what you've got to say, or you're making it up as you go along and everybody's going to find out. Both of those might be true, but the trick is to not let them stop you so that you can work through the zones in that comfort zone diagram to make real progress. So let's look at the next zone. If we can push through those feelings and into the learning zone, we find we're able to work through new challenges. We're able to problem solve because we're not gripped by fear in the same way. And we find ourselves starting to make real progress. And finally, we enter the growth zone. And in this space, we're able to set new goals. We're able to make progress that sticks. Those things that we feared before are not so scary, and we feel much better equipped to handle what else life throws at us. It's important to remember that doing new things is always scary. Feeling that fear is natural, it's a natural reaction, but we do have some agency about how much influence we allow that fear to have on us. And I want to encourage you all, as people who are working with children and young people, it is our responsibility to create that space for them. It is our responsibility to step into that vulnerable space before they do, to model great behaviour, to model great practice, to model feeling scared and not allowing it to stop us. And if we're able to do that, if we're able to work through our own fears and to allow children and young people to witness us doing that, we have the potential to have huge influence, huge positive influence on them, on the choices that they're making, on how they're handling their own fears and the progress that they're able to make, both in their educational achievement, but also and critically in their own mental health and well-being. What you're doing now or have done in the past need not determine what you can do next and in the future. In my leadership role, I've had to resist the urge to cling to what we were doing before, to how things operated before, to the types of work that we were making before, and just wait for things to go back to normal. And instead, encourage and support people to embrace this time as a significant chapter in the company's history and in the lives of everybody that we're working with. When the boundaries that we're working within get narrowed, as they have been recently, sometimes that is a massive stimulator for creativity. And that's a really exciting space to work in. And now is the time for us to use the narrowing of those boundaries to get creative, to get innovative, and to bring about some radical change. So I invite you all to consider, what have you discovered through this COVID-19 era that you wouldn't have discovered otherwise? What have you learned? What new ways of working have you tried? What new relationships have you made? And what do you want to carry forward into the future? Even if the world goes back to functioning in a similar way as it was before, what new things do we want to carry into that future that are going to improve the way that we work for the long term? And I know that this is a grind. I know that this is hard work. So where are you getting your inspiration from? Who are you looking to influence you, to guide you, to give you new ideas? At Mortal Fools, we've been taking inspiration from companies like Company 3, in the south, from Zest Theatre in the Midlands, and from right up here in the northeast, Curious Monkey. All companies who have been innovating in their approach to supporting young people through this time and planning new ways to work with them both for now and for the future. And give yourself some time to get this right. I really appreciate the drive to get things out there now. The world is moving forward and we don't want to be left behind. We're about to launch a new online story game as part of our Melva programme that supports children's worries and anxieties. We're all excited and we're all set for the launch at the end of October. We put it out into schools for some initial testing and awaited them to come back with brilliant news of how the children had really enjoyed it. And while we got that, it also threw up quite a few things that needed fixing. And that created quite a lot of anxiety amongst our team. We wanted to get it out. We didn't want to miss the boat, but it's so important in working through new territory, in working through ideas and ways of working that you've never done before, that you give yourselves time and space to get it right. It's not a race. We're not winners and losers in this. Root yourself to that purpose and remind yourselves of why you're doing any of this. For us, we want the Melva game to genuinely support children with their worries and anxiety. And we want to give them a resource that we're proud of and that is going to have that impact. So we have to take the time to fix what's wrong and not rush to get it out there straight away. For the cultural organisations amongst you, I encourage you to get flexible. We need to move away from an off-a-peg approach and instead get into conversation, get into deep conversation with schools and find out what do they need? What do we as a sector have to offer that can help meet these new needs of children and young people, both right now and in the future? Our world has changed profoundly and we have to respond to it. What you do for yourself dies with you when you leave this world. What you do for others lives on forever. Remember, we're all still able to have a profoundly positive impact on the lives of the children and young people that we're working with. It may be challenging, it may be difficult, it may be uncertain, and it may be stressful. But remember that what our children and young people want from us the most is connection. They want to be seen, they want to be heard, they want to be valued. So take the time to really connect with them. We're all busy, we're all stressed out, and we're all trying things for the first time. But remind yourself in that moment with that young person, what they want from you the most is connection. Research now emerging from schools has demonstrated that the practice of working in bubbles has actually strengthened the relationships between pupils and their teachers and between pupils and their peers. It's helped them navigate the fear. It's helped them talk about what they're going through. It's helped them build better relationships with one another. And ultimately, that's helped them achieve academically and manage their own mental health and well-being. I feel like at youth theatre it's the only place where my voice is really heard. I feel shunned or shut down elsewhere. I'm a teenager, so it's like, who would listen to you? You don't have any life experience. Youth theatre is a safe space where you can discuss topics that are important to you. Here, I can have a respectful conversation and be able to listen to people's ideas, not objecting to them, but questioning them and trying to understand. It's helped me in new situations where I now say to myself, I'm going to go into this situation and it might feel uncomfortable, but I might make a friend, or I might understand someone else's opinion better. And that's really important. It's kept me creative and connected with the outside world. Having a way to still contribute during things like lockdown helps with my mental health, which is what I'm focusing on right now. And remember, none of this is easy. Coming out of your comfort zone is uncomfortable, and all of us have been kicked out of our comfort zones, kicking and screaming. But we need to make sure we move into the future, not riding this wave in a passive, unconnected way, but instead moving towards a place of positive and radical change. Thank you.